Okay, Knut, welcome to another vintage video, and today we're just going to go over Eternal Weekend in Prague, which I went to over the weekend. So, I played this Dredge list on the screen now. Had a good time, tournament was fun. Yeah, I played Dredge, surprising 0 people. Um, and I played a list where we've got 2 Bridge from Belows in the main deck, and we've got a Cabal Therapy in the main deck. This is over the 2 additional negations and Mindbreak Trap. I went with this list because I like the bridges in the mirror, and I thought it would be slightly more dredge around than you find in the Modo Streets sort of thing. And that's because it's a paper no proxy event, and the Bazaars are, versus a powered deck, comparatively cheaper, right? So I thought it's fine to hedge a little bit for the mirror. I also like this a little bit more against the Lurus decks, because we can just go round their nonsense and it just gives us a few more threats, because a lot of their cards don't do much. And then the other places, so that's the main 2 reasons I wanted to play the bridges. And then the other matchups that it can come in handy are against Oath of Druids. You can sometimes, if you get out ahead with some Icarids, the bridges can sometimes make a wide enough board that we can get around an Atraxa for those last few points. And it's also quite nice against mono white as well, which was a matchup I'd struggled with when we were on the max permission build. The bridges seem to crack that open a bit. Everything else is pretty normal. But yeah, this is the list I played, and I was quite happy with that as a bunch of logic going in. So we're going to go round by round and talk about the tournament. So round 1, I was up against an unpowered mono black list, which sounds like it should be good, but the cards they have are pretty terrifying. So the main one being these 3 copies of Doughty Voidwalker in the main deck, and on top of that they've got, well, I thought they had Wastelands as well, but they apparently just have Strip Mine, which is kind of sad. So yeah, Doughty Voidwalkers and a bunch of hate pieces. So maybe not as loaded and as horrible as I thought, but game 1 of this match, and I thought this is how my weekend's going to go. Game 1, I remember I mulliganed low to 3 or so, and my opponent's on the play, and they go Swamp, Ritual, Vexing Bauble, Orcish Bowmasters, was how their turn 1 went, which wasn't something I was expecting. Well, actually, no, that might, yeah, no, Ritual's really weird, isn't it? But yeah, that was a turn 1 play. I activated Bazaar of Baghdad. I discarded 2 powders and a Stinkweed Imp, I think, or something like that. And then they reanimated my Stinkweed Imp, and that was the only Dredger I saw for the whole of game 1. So that was an interesting start, because I don't expect to see Ritual reanimate Bowmaster all in the same deck, sort of thing. And then game 2, I remember I countered or Sickening Shoulder Doughty Voidwalker and killed them, and then game 3, I think I kept 7 and kind of went off. But it was one where, yeah, round 1, game 1, you mulligan low, 3 or 4, I can't exactly remember, and then just get dunked on with a reanimate on my only dredger, and you think, oh, this is going to be a long day, you know? So, yeah, so we do squeeze through this one, and there's quite a bit of hate post board with Needles, Cages, Crypts, and Tabs, as well as the main deck Voidwalkers, and in the end only 1 Strip Mine. I assumed they would have been on 4 wastes. These are Ancient Tombs up here. But yeah, unpowered mono black, these are my cards, sort of deck. 3 Opposition Agents, wow, game into game. And a Reggie, nice stuff. So yeah, I was pleased to get away with this one because of the way it started, basically. Let's go to round 2. Okay, round 2, we're up against like an Esper Tinker style list, with some POs in here. Bolas' Citadel, Mentor, Whole Reachers, like, I don't know, someone who's come along to play their vintage cards, right? So, game 1 I don't greatly remember. Um, I know I won it, but I imagine we can assume I did Bazaar of Baghdad things and got through. I don't really remember the game though. Game two, they got off a Tinker for Sphinx, and that was good enough to beat me. And then game three was where it all got a bit interesting. I have my opponent on 1 life, and after a 2 hollow 1 start, they've got a token with Urza's Saga, which is either a 4/4 or a 3/3. It must be a 4/4 because I can't attack into it, so it's got to be a 4/4. And then they resolve their Saga, and they find themselves a Sensei's Divining Top with their Saga. And I think, oh wow, I'm in business because they did not get a Nihil Spellbomb or a Soul Guide Lantern, which they haven't registered. But apparently they've only got an 11-card sideboard. There we go, cards appear. 2 cages, tab, Khan. So they resolve Saga and they only have a Sensei's Top to go and get. So I thought, right, I'm in business because I still have my graveyard. My graveyard had some Icarids, they're going to die soon, sort of thing. And then I think I've been wasted off Bazaar, but I still have like a graveyard that's kind of doing something. But then in one turn, they play Cage, Lavinia, Containment Priest, which just completely, locks me out. I do one more Dredge and don't hit anything. And at that point, I've got 2 cards in hand. They've got a top going. They've got a construct I can't attack through, Lavinia, and Containment Priest in Cage. So I'm pretty resigned to lose with 2 cards in hand, but they haven't killed me yet. And the game, opponent's at 1, and it was wild because the opponent's filtering every turn with top. They've got this stuff in play. They don't want to attack me with their construct token because if they do, I'm on like 26, 27, something like this. Well, it's going to be a multiple of 3 if I've gained life, but 26-ish life. So if they start attacking, I can attack with my 1 hollow 1, and they're forced to chump block with their Lavinias or their Containment Priests, which might unlock stuff for me. But as it transpires, I naturally draw all the way up to 8 cards. I then discard a Stinkweed Imp. I then untap once again. I then dredge once, and I Creeping Chill them for lethal. But it was just 6-7 turns of watching my opponent twiddle their top, try and find something relevant, try and find something to do, and they didn't. So we chill them once and they die, which was a very lucky way to end round 2 and be 2-0 on the day. Okay, round 3, we're up against Stefan Schutz on Doomsday. And game 1, I keep a high quantity of cards. I counter something. I attack them. I kill them. Game 2 was an equally large blowout in the opposite direction sort of thing. I'm on the draw, obviously. Yeah, I'm on the draw. I mulligan, I believe, to 3, maybe 4. I think it's 4 actually, because of the way the game plays. But opponent's first upkeep, they play a Leyline. I immediately vigor it with a Golgari Grave Troll. And then their opener is like land, jet, sapphire, and I think ancestral play Yixla Jailer, which was good for me to learn about because I was in that spot completely cold to the Jailer. So because I didn't bring in Sickening Shoals, I thought they could have a Jailer, and if they do, they do. I can always fight that on the stack, is one approach, but Jailer's not a common sideboard card. It's something they can have, but it's how much do you want to hedge versus how much do you want to keep cards in your deck and that sort of thing. So it was good information for me to learn going into the final game. But this was one where, opponent had 2 or 3 bits of power, a Leyline, a Jailer, and then they killed me on turn 2. So I got to look through and I got to find out their sideboard plan is 1 Murktide, 1 Jailer, 4 ley lines and a tab. So that was cool, and that's good information for us. Game 3. Game 3, I have Strip Mine, Grief, Hollow 1, Bazaar, and Chalice, I think. Or maybe something irrelevant, because I do have a Chalice at some point in this game. But I grief my opponent. They go Leyline. I then grief them and see a hand of 2 Force of Wills, a Dig Through Time, and a Dark Ritual. I take Dig Through Time. I cast a Hollow 1. Opponent thinks about it and counters the first Hollow 1. I play a second Hollow 1, meaning we know that they've got a hand of some lands and a Dark Ritual. They take their turn and they just play a Delta. I play a Strip Mine and pass. They fetch the Undercity Sewers and do some like filtering with their deck sort of thing. So the board at the moment is Bazaar, Strip, Hollow 1 on our side, Leyline, Undercity Sewers on their side. Opponent asks if they're good to untap sort of thing, and I let them, and it's one of those games where the Strip Mine that we've got is absolutely bolted onto their Tabernacle Pendrel Veil. So they've got the Leyline, so our deck doesn't do anything else. And turns go by, and there's a moment where I question wastelanding them, because they've played some cantrips, they've done some filtering. And I'm very much thinking, if I wasteland them in this point, they won't be able to Ritual Doomsday cantrip and kill me. They'd be like a mana short of the pile I was thinking of at the time. But then I decide, yeah, if they kill me, they kill me. I'm not killing them without this Hollow 1, so they can carry on. And then they play a Tabernacle, I waste it, and they concede. Cool game, lovely opponent, nice to play with, nice to play against a pro player sort of thing. That's always an exciting sort of thing. But yeah, so we get away with that one as well, and now 3-0. Okay, round 4 up against Oath of Druids, classic Oath sort of build, Show and Tell, Tinker, Atraxa, Flash, Oath, and some other cards. This one was interesting because I actually lose game 1, and then win the 2 post-board games, as Dredge is supposed to do. So I lose game 1 to a quick Oath draw. Game 2, I believe I do some griefing and some therapying, and I just get wide enough, fast enough, and it's all very tasty. And then game 3 was the interesting one, because they're on the play, I'm on the draw, and their opener is land, Mox, Nihil Spellbomb. I untap, I activate my Bazaar, and I'm able to discard in a way where I discard like 2 powders and something else that doesn't have any graveyard abilities, maybe like a Creeping Chill. And then I untap, they untap, I Vigor, Nihil Spellbomb, Mox, and I don't think they make another land drop that game. So I'm then just unaccosted for the rest of the game. Didn't lose anything to the Spellbomb crack, Stone Rained them, and from there we close out. So then we're 4-0 and feeling reasonably decent, because so far we've played against Mono Black Doughty Voidwalkers, a combo-y Tinker build with POs and stuff. This matchup I think I'm good to be winning sort of thing. Round 3 we've got Doomsday, which is a fairly stinky matchup for us. It's not nice. They're faster than you, and then post-board you've got to fight battles over ley lines and jailers and stuff, and things that just don't actually matter to them because they're so fast. And then round 4, this is going to be round 5. Round 4 we play against Oath of Druids, and that's also one of the less good matchups for us sort of thing. So round 5 I played against Bart, who was really nice to play against. I spoke to him a bit whilst we were playing Legacy the day before, and in Legacy he was playing Doomsday. So when we got paired I was like, oh, Doomsday again, that's a bit tough. But Bart actually went land Deathrite Shaman, and I thought, shit, it's worse than I thought. So unpowered Bug, because there was massive equity in being unpowered in this tournament. Like, so highest place unpowered got 2x the prize ticks than first place did. Just first place got the promos sort of thing. So yeah, so there's a lot of unpowered going around. I think an unpowered mono white made top 8. There was a lot of unpowered mono reds. We saw unpowered mono black in the first round, and this is unpowered bug. The issue we've got though is it's not the power in bug that kills us, it's the Deathrite Shamans and 6 wasteland effects that they've got. Well, 7 because there's a trophy. And that's sort of what happens to us. I only ever activated Bazaar of Baghdad once in this matchup, and then I'm on slow dredging, and the Deathrites are able to keep up. And that happens in 2 games. I get them low, and then classic bug things happen. They slowly eat my Icarids. They push and destroy my amalgams that have made it through, and we slowly get ground out and die, and then we concede with 10 minutes left on the round so that we can go and get a coffee. It's at the end of this round that I find out that the coffee shop has run out of coffee, and my day is ruined. Yeah, but enjoyable match though, to be honest. There was one really fun point actually where in play they've got Psychic Frog and Deathrite Shaman. They're low on life. I asked my opponent how many cards have you got, because I've got Hollow One in play. They've got 3. And I think, well, if I kill the Deathrite and they force it, I can then attack and they have to chump block with Death Frog, because the Deathrite was tapped at this point in time. And yeah, and then they'll have to chump, and then the question's on again, is my Hollow One good, sort of thing. And I shoal the Deathrite Shaman, my opponent thinks for a while, and then they daze my Sickening Shoal, and they still have 3 cards in hand, and I can never attack again. So that was cool. But we do take our first loss here, but it's to Bug, so we're still feeling good. I don't expect to beat Bug, even in an unpowered version, sort of thing. Yeah, so it goes. Fun opponent, though. That was cool. I enjoyed that match a lot. So round 6, we're up against what appears to be 61 card Oath of Druids, but this is not normal Oath. This is like an Emrakul Oath build. So we've got Emrakuls, we've got Channel, we've got Oath, and we've even got a Dragon Breath there for some hasty Emrakuls. Frantic Search for some reason. 2 mana drains. But yeah, no, this was another fun one. Imperial Seal as well. Look, yeah. So like, I don't know. I came to play my vintage cards, Oath of Druids, some cool stuff, lots of restricted cards, 3 Okos, some Force of Wills, and some Flusters. So, how does this matchup go down? I win game 1, but my opponent plays a turn 1 Oath of Druids, or turn 2 Oath of Druids, I can't quite remember. But they play an early Oath, and I win game 1 from... I have a Hollow One in play, they play Oath, and then at some point I decline 2 Narcomoeba triggers on my turn. I therapy away my Hollow One after attacking. My opponent untaps, announces their Oath trigger, which doesn't actually have a target because I don't have any creatures in play. And then I untap, I attack them with 3 Icarids, pass the turn back. They still don't have an Oath trigger. They don't do anything. We kill them with 3 Icarids. So at this point, I'm 4-1 in round 6. Yeah, 4-1 in round 6, and I'm feeling pretty good about my chances because I was pleased with how I was playing. This was like the bit where I was like, oh, I'm kind of in tune today, which is nice. And then, yeah, and then game 2, I remember this nicely. I grief them. I take an Assassin's Trophy. I therapy them. I take their last card. I think it was an Oko. They've got lands in play. I've got a Bazaar. I've got a Graveyard. We're about to win over the next turn or 2. And then my opponent untaps, plays their land, plays their Oath of Druids, and then the next turn we die. So that was cool. And then game 3 was very, very similar, where I have everything under control apart from the top of their deck. And they untap and they play an Oath, and then we die to a Dragon's Breath Emrakul, which is cool. I think that's interesting. I think it's exciting. I love seeing this here, Tinker in the sideboard. Very funny to me. Comes and gets this. So yeah, that was a bit of an upsetting one because there was two games 2 and 3. I'd stripped their hand. I thought I had them covered, and they untapped and played no for Druids sort of thing. A lot of them being if their Oath is a card deeper, then I probably win even through the Emrakul Bash sort of thing. But never mind, that's the way it goes sometimes. Round 7. What am I playing against round 7? Oh yeah, Oath of Druids again. Yeah, so I'm on the draw. My opponent goes Island, Mana Crypt, Show and Tell, Traxxas, and I die very quickly. Game 2, nothing happens. They play a turn 1 or turn 2 Oath of Druids, and we're done in 10 minutes, and the games weren't particularly exciting or close. So we're 4-3 at this point. It was 4-0 into 4-3. Bit upsetting, but there's not much you can do. We've played, I don't know, 4, 5, maybe even 6 pretty poor matchups at this point. But so it goes. Just much more Oath of Druids than I was expecting, and they were much faster in this game than I could ever deal with, sort of thing. Round 8 against Dual Shops. The fuck is that? The One Ring. Okay. Dual Shops. Okay, so Dual Shops. In game 1, my opponent goes off and then fizzles. So they have 2 jewels in play, and then they pass the turn to me, and I untap, and I get to steal the 2 jewels. That was quite fun. I dredged my entire deck because I knew that 2 of my Creeping Chills were in the bottom 3. So I had to dredge super hard off of the... But it isn't hard when you've got a draw 6 on the stack. We just had to dredge Xaxes for our deck, which was cool, fun to do. Opponent dies. Yeah, the other game they go off. They don't take infinite turns, but they do play with worm coils and metamorphs, like 3 or 4 worm coils in a turn. And then the final game, they went land, Mox, Monolith, and then they passed. I activated a Bazaar and I destroyed Mox, Monolith, and they didn't really do much else. I just ran them over, and they died. So that left us 5-3 on the day. So 5-3 on the day with our dredge list, which put us 35th. The top 32 were all able to ID perfectly into the promo, so I was a point behind everyone else. I still like my deck choice. I just wish I'd played more against the decks I wanted to play against, sort of thing. Like, if I was going to play against 3 Oath of Druids, a Dual Shops, a Doomsday, Bug, and Mono Black, I think I'd rather be on Squee. But 5-3 against potentially 0 to 1 good matchups all day, sort of thing. Like, this deck to me looks quite scary as a Dredge player. I'm not sure if that's true, like a Grief Scam, Reanimate style thing. How do they discard their Archon? I don't know. Anyway, so this looks scary to me, just because of the Dalthies in the main. Round 2, this is easily losable, right? With Time Vault Key, Tinker, Lavinia's POs into a lot of hate of Tab 2 Cages, Sphinx, Containment Priest sort of thing. I think the main thing with this deck was, yes, they need the cage for like Oath or whatever, but if we were to swap 1 cage for a Spell Bomb, I would have lost that round and it wouldn't have been close. And then, yeah, after that we had Doomsday, which is really tough just because they're so fast and disruptive post-board. And then it was Oath, Oath, which is tough, Bug, which we can't win, Oath, and dual shops, which is also another one like Doomsday where they're too fast. So 5-3 against that matchup spread I'm actually kind of pleased with. I would have liked to, done better. Obviously, I don't think that needs much saying. I think it was round 6 was the one that I found most heartbreaking. That's the wrong word. This was the toughest loss because genuinely games 2 and 3 that I lost against them, I knew their hand going into the turn that I died, and then I died, sort of thing. That was, but it's vintage, right? You put your opponent on top decks, and the quality of their top decks is so high that this stuff can happen. But so it goes. So it goes. In all, it was a very fun weekend. I got to see all the people. I got to play all the games. I did play Legacy the day before. Legacy was kind of fucked up. Legacy was 8 rounds. I don't think I've got my opponents in here, no. Legacy was 8 rounds. Legacy was 11 rounds in one day. Start at 9 AM, finish at 10:30 or some shit like that. It was horrible. If Legacy is one day next year, I just won't play it. Because I was destroyed for the vintage. This is what I played. Played some Grixis Delver. How did you end up on Grixis Delver? Well, Sahar said to me, do you want to play the Legacy? I said, sure. And she said, I've got a Delver deck. And I was like, okay. So 0 reps into a 7-3 and 1 finish for Delver. I had a lot of fun. Jacques told me to play a Soul Guide Lantern, and it was cracked all day. It was like the best card in my deck. That might be an exaggeration. But I did get Thoughtseize by Oops. They took my Force of Will past the turn, and I top decked a Soul Guide and killed them. So that was pretty sick. This deck was fun to play. I don't think I'm going to go too in depth into Legacy. I just played it because it was there and I was able to, sort of thing. But 11 rounds in one day is tough. Back to formats that matter. This deck, I'm pleased with it. I'm pleased with how I did into my matchup spread and would register again, sort of thing. And by that I mean I'm going to probably play a league with it at some point and chuck that up as well, just to see. But the main reason I played this list was those matchups I said at the beginning. Dredge and Lurrus. So I think if you're against Lurrus, just having those extra threats is quite nice. And if you're against Dredge, then game 1 you've won because you've got Bridge from below and they don't. And then game 2, if either player's got if you've got the operational deck, so once you've traded off everything over your original hate, the bridges come into play again and you win. So that's why I played it. I'm happy with my deck choice. I'm not happy with my matchup spread, but so it goes. Triple Oath of Druids is tough. Anyway, that's me. That was my Prague playing. I ate some food. I drank some beers. I played some Magic, and I had a good weekend. See you next time.